You know, the person sitting in the cubicle next to you. The one you make small talk with by the coffee machine. What do you really know about them? Today, we're diving into the dark side of the workplace. Exploring 3 chilling true stories about coworkers that will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about your colleagues. These aren't just office gossip. They are bone-chilling accounts of obsession, strange behavior, and events that blur the line between the professional and the paranormal. So, turn down the lights, make sure you're not alone, and let's get started with our first story. It comes from a user named Clara, who worked late shifts at a quiet, family-owned bookstore. Her coworker, an older man named Elias, had been there for decades. He was harmless, everyone said. A bit eccentric, but part of the store's charm. Elias had a peculiar habit. He would talk to the books. Not just muttering to himself, but full-blown conversations. He'd pull a classic off the shelf, open it, and whisper to the pages as if confiding in an old friend. Clara found it odd, but brushed it off. Just a lonely old man, she thought. One night, as Clara was closing up, she heard a voice from the history section. She called out, thinking Elias had stayed late, but there was no reply. The voice was low, a guttural whisper. Her heart pounded as she cautiously walked down the aisle. All the books were in their places. The aisle was empty. But then she saw it. A single book, a dusty old tome on local folklore, was on the floor, open to a page about a spirit that latches onto objects and mimics voices to lure people in. That's when the whispering started again, this time right behind her. It sounded exactly like Elias. She bolted out of the store and never looked back. The next day, she called in to quit. Her manager told her Elias hadn't worked there in over 5 years. He had passed away, inside the store. This next story proves that sometimes, the most terrifying thing isn't a ghost, but the person you share a desk with. Our story comes from Mark, a graphic designer who worked in a bustling open-plan office. His coworker, Sarah, was incredibly talented, but also intensely private and competitive. Mark noticed Sarah would often stare at his screen, her eyes lingering a little too long. He assumed she was just curious about his projects. Soon though, things escalated. Mark would leave his desk for a few minutes and return to find his design files slightly altered. A color palette would be tweaked, a layer moved almost imperceptibly. It was so subtle he thought he was imagining it. He started locking his computer, but the sabotage continued. His files would mysteriously become corrupted right before a deadline. He'd get emails from his boss questioning his work. Emails that seemed to quote private conversations he'd had with other colleagues. He felt like he was losing his mind. The paranoia was crippling. He installed a hidden screen recording software on his computer, determined to catch the phantom saboteur. He left his computer unlocked for just a few minutes, pretending to take a call. When he reviewed the footage, his blood ran cold. The video showed Sarah, quick as a flash, sliding into his chair. She didn't just corrupt a file. She installed a keylogger and remote access software onto his system. She had been mirroring his screen, reading his emails, and listening to his private chats for months. She was systematically destroying his career from the inside out, all with a friendly smile on her face the next morning. Mark took the evidence straight to HR. Sarah was fired immediately, escorted out of the building without even being allowed to collect her things. Mark says he still gets chills thinking about how she watched his every move, patiently waiting to ruin him. For our final story, we travel to a remote research facility in the Alaskan wilderness. This account comes from a biologist we'll call Ben. Ben was part of a small 4-person team stationed there for the winter. The isolation was intense, with months of darkness and no contact with the outside world except for a weekly satellite call. His coworker, a geologist named Arthur, started acting strangely a few weeks into their stay. He became withdrawn, spending hours just staring out the window at the endless snow. Then came the humming. Arthur would hum the same discordant, tuneless melody over and over, day and night. It was unnerving, grating on the nerves of the small crew. The team's psychologist, via their weekly call, suggested it was a symptom of cabin fever. But then Arthur started sleepwalking. The others would find him standing in the middle of the common room in the dead of night, humming that same tune, his eyes wide open but completely vacant. They started locking their bedroom doors. One night, a blizzard raged outside, cutting off their satellite connection. Ben was awoken by a loud bang. He ran out to see the main door of the facility wide open, snow and wind howling into the corridor. Arthur was gone. They searched as much as they could in the storm, but there was no sign of him. They assumed he'd wandered out in a sleepwalking daze and succumbed to the elements. They were heartbroken, but also, Ben admits, a little relieved. The humming had stopped. Weeks later, the weather cleared, and a rescue team was finally able to fly in. As the helicopter was lifting off, taking the surviving crew back to civilization, Ben looked down at the vast white expanse surrounding the facility, and he saw it. Carved into the snow, in letters hundreds of feet long, was a message. It was a sequence of strange, unfamiliar symbols. It wasn't a language any of them recognized. And then, faintly, over the roar of the helicopter blades, Ben heard something from the radio. It was a garbled, static-filled transmission. But through the noise, he could just make out a familiar, discordant sound. It was Arthur's humming. He wasn't lost in the snow. He was out there, somewhere, broadcasting his tune, waiting. These stories remind us that the people we spend 8 hours a day with can hold secrets far darker than we could ever imagine. From lingering spirits to obsessive rivals and unexplained disappearances, the workplace can be a truly terrifying place. What's the strangest thing you've ever experienced with a coworker? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed these chilling tales, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more disturbing true stories. Stay safe out there.